Dr. Wonkite. I'm already into the 420, damn it.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
What's the matter with that cat there?
Must be full of reefer.
Full of reefer?
Yeah, man.
Mean that cat's high?
Sailing.
Sailing?
Lightly.
We now wander off the beaten path with an update from the Reefer Reporter.
Hello and welcome to the Reefer Reporters here on LifestyleRadio.net, featuring newshawks Kim Cooper and myself, Al Graham, as we bring you Canadian and international cannabis news. This week it's for the weeks of June the 12th to June the 18th, 2018. Hello, Kim. How are we today?
Oh, we're not doing too bad today in the Great White North, Al. How's things down there?
Hot.
Well, things are really heating up in the legislature in Canada with cannabis legalization on the dawn of the new horizon here in this Great White North country of ours.
It sure is, and as it has been for the last several weeks, we're going to start off with the news of coming out of the Senate, and that's the fact that the federal government accepts most of all the Senate recommendations to the cannabis bill, but they don't accept them all.
Yep, several have been eliminated by the House. They've said no to the Senate's proposals on many amendments, but they have said yes to several as well.
That's right. Yeah, they've accepted 26 largely technical amendments to the legislation. Some of them will involve something, for example, there was a review to be studied 3 years into it, and they've changed that so the review will be done at 18 months. And there's other ones as well. Yeah.
Some of the big ones to note, I think, in the changes are they have rejected the Senate proposal to allow provinces to regulate the homegrown market. So as it stands federally, they're saying everybody coast to coast will be allowed to grow 4 plants no matter where you live.
Well, no, you'll be able to grow plants because I believe in there they're allowed to make some amendments, but they're not allowed to ban it.
Yeah. So provinces can regulate and say, okay, we want a lower plant count than 4, and stuff like that. They can put protocols in place such as fencing, indoor grow only, all kinds of stuff like that would prevent a lot of people from being able to grow. And that's what some governments have come out and said that they plan on doing.
Oh, yes. And then you got Quebec, Manitoba, and I believe Nunavut as well. Is that they want to ban it, and they're willing to go to court over it all.
Yes, they are. So it's an evolving situation on how the provinces are going to deal with the federal regulations. Many say that they can't do anything about it legally if it's legal federally, but they can impose fines and heavy restrictions. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out coast to coast in different provinces.
Yes, well, I imagine we'll be finding out soon.
Yes, for sure.
Yes, because in our next story, Bill Blair says there's a possibility, if cannabis is voted on this week, that it could be legal in September.
Yeah, they say that as long as it passes the Senate within the next 24 to 48 hours, that it could be legal in 8 to 12 weeks. 12 weeks has been put as the maximum, which would be putting it sometime in September.
Yes, it will. And, it'll be a little bit too late to put your outdoor garden in, but start them indoors.
Yeah, many people I know are doing that. They've got small plants started indoors, waiting this announcement so that they can put them out in their yards and be safe in doing so. So we'll have to see if they get the chance to get them out before summer's over.
Yeah. Well, you get some quick auto flowerings. I don't know.
Yeah.
Depends on where you live. If you're super up north, yeah, tough. But if you're down in the Niagara region,
yeah, much longer growing season down there, so there's still a chance.
Still a chance, that's right. I can see all the pictures online now,
Yes.
Hey,
Canadians jumping at the chance.
Yes, exactly. Instead of waiting until next year. So, All right. From there, one of those things that the Senate was debating and all that was the ban on the swag with the T-shirts and the flags. What's going on there now with the MP involved in that?
Well, Senator for Sarnia-Lambton, Marilyn Gladue, is once again calling out the government and calling on the government to ban what she calls disgusting clothing paraphernalia and paraphernalia promoting cannabis. I went over this story with a fine-tooth comb, chuckling all the way at this woman's stand. Is just outrageous to me. I'm going to quote her here. People are worried that when marijuana is legalized in Canada, that they're going to use Canada Day to come out with flags with cannabis on them, and everyone will be wearing cannabis T-shirts with cannabis on it, and it's just disgusting, she said.
Well, I have news for her to let her know. Maybe she should stop by Oshawa this July long weekend and check out their 9th annual Cannabis Day event, because obviously this has been going on for several years. This isn't something new.
Absolutely. I have had a Canadian flag hanging in my office with a proud red cannabis leaf in the center replacing the maple leaf for over 6 years. This paraphernalia has been around for a very, very long time. Cannabis legalization is not affecting it at all.
No. So I was, I was glad to see that the federal government removed that before sending it back to the Senate for a vote, because I'm sure there's many of us out here in the cannabis community that has not only a shirt or something with a cannabis leaf on it, but it's got some branding on it. It's got a company's name on it, which they would say. How would you even enforce that?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, we all do this in the summertime. Weather comes and you kind of change your wardrobe a little bit. Put the sweaters away, get the T-shirts out, all of that kind of thing. So I've just gone through this process here in my home. And currently I have a large drawer with 3 large stacks of T-shirts, all cannabis related. I mean, there's got to be 40 shirts in there, and they all are cannabis related. I've had many of these shirts for 10 years or more.
Yeah. And what damage to society has branded T-shirts and swag done?
None. Absolutely none. This conservative MP is from Sarnia-Lambton. I'm going to call on the people of Sarnia-Lambton. Perhaps Mrs. Marilyn Gladue needs some education. If you're in this region or in the province at all, maybe send her some pictures and some educational material on the evolution of cannabis paraphernalia and branded material. Shed some light on the subject for her.
Yeah. Yes, and talking sort of about branding, I don't know whether you call this branding or not, but down in New Brunswick, they've they're saying that they've got the first legal cannabis store worldwide ready to open.
Yes, and they're calling it the hip place to buy your cannabis. They've got some interesting categories for this wonderful plant that we all know and love that I have never seen before. And really, I got a big chuckle out of this one. I can't believe the marketing strategy that they've come out with.
Yes, when you go into the place, you'll be able to buy your cannabis under 3 categories or occasions, as they suggest. The 3 product groups will be Discover, Connect, and Refresh, which are all, detailed in a brochure that anybody could read on and learn what these things are. So, Discovery categories aim towards those wanting to do. You want to unlock creativity while painting, need motivation to get writing, or perfect your recipe for risotto. These products are made for these occasions. Sounds like some heavy sativas to me. What do you think?
Yeah, Why not just call it the sativa category?
Okay. Let's see. Connect category. They're best enjoyed at the weekly poker game, girls' night out, or a concert with the whole group. It could be video chatting with your friends. Geez, that almost sounds like it's going to minors. Yeah.
Yeah. So once again, we have our hybrid category.
Okay. Now, customers who might want to unwind prefer to refresh. They will go to this refresh category geared towards those wanting to relax at home with your spouse while you're chatting or catching up on the latest TV series. Or you could be reading your favorite self-help book or magazine. Regardless how you chill and enjoy downtime, these products are meant to put your mind at ease and soothe the soul.
And then we have the indica category. I mean, why is there a need to rebrand the categories that already exist? This is just ridiculous to me.
Well, it's New Brunswick. I don't know whether it's going to happen across the rest of the country, but that's what's going to happen. And basically, when people enter these stores, they're going to go into like a little lobby, and have their ID checked at the windows.
Yep. And then that they can go in and peruse the categories and so forth. Now, there's no hands-on material going to be available in these stores. It's going to be prepackaged products, sealed, not clear bags, from what I understand. They're going to have a color on them of some sort so that they're not see-through. So, I mean, it's not going to be anything like the current dispensary retail.
Now, the staff at Cannabis NB, they were referred to as guides. And each of these guides will receive 100 hours of training.
A whole 100 hours, eh? Holy cow, man. They're experts now.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. The guides are passionate, knowledgeable, and responsible. They are here to help whenever you are ready. And they will handle your product for you. So there you go. No touch. Will they carry it to the door?
I don't know. You get your little brown bag on your way out the door. I mean, I'm curious to see how this is going to really be rolled out. I'd love for somebody to get the whole event on film or something for me when it happens, because I just find the whole thing just laughable. I really do.
It's like, well, we can chuckle as we have been at this, but at least they sound ready, because at our next story, things aren't looking so good for people here in Ontario.
No, they most certainly are not. As you said, we chuckle about New Brunswick, but hey, at least they're doing something. They've got to start. I mean, these stores are built. Their shelves are up. Their signage is up. They're waiting for product as soon as it becomes legal so they can fling those doors open. Ontario, not so much. We have the announcement of a handful of stores, locations that were supposed to be opening upon legalization. Well, those stores still have paper on the windows and for lease signs in them.
Yes, the one there at Bill Blair's riding in Scarborough.
Yeah.
That was one that was all over the news because of being in a mall which was surrounded by 3 schools.
Right.
And you know how they feel about cannabis in schools. So that one there, it's still all covered up in paper. There's no action going there whatsoever. It still stays for lease in the window.
Yeah, no construction going on, no announcements as to where these stores are going to be located. We were promised 40 stores by the end of this year. I do not see that happening in Ontario. I think Ontario has dropped the ball on this big time. Whether there was an election this year or not, you still have to run the province during that process, and they are not doing that.
No, exactly. Down in PEI, they say they'll have 4 stores open. That's 1 for every 35,000 residents. In Nova Scotia, they say that they're going to have 9. That's 1 for every 76,000 Nova Scotians. Ontario, well, they announced 40.
Yeah.
That's
the biggest province in the country, right?
That's 1. Yeah, that's right. 1 for every 338,000 people in Ontario. And,
I mean, come on.
And their spokesperson wouldn't even commit to a number of stores that would be open on day 1.
Yeah. Well, there's been no committal for any stores to be open because, quite frankly, from the looks of things, none will be. So how can the government possibly stand up in front of its citizens and say, yeah, legalization is going to come and you're not going to have anywhere to shop?
Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, the Ottawa lawyer, Trina Fraser, she thinks it's too late for Ontario to change the course and adapt a private sector model like what they're doing out west. It can be done, but it has to be a political appetite for that. And exactly, because, we've seen Doug flip-flop on this already because the parties gave him a hand swat when he said he was interested in a free market system.
Yep, he got called in by the higher-ups in the party and said, that's not what we stand for, so stop saying that even if you personally believe it. It's not our platform. So we have to wait and see. Will Dougie toe the line of the party platform, or will he go off rogue on his own and do what he thinks is right for the province? Another wait-and-see moment for Ontario, and quite frankly, Ontarians are sick of waiting and seeing. We need some action, and we need it soon.
Well, over the last few shows when we've talked about this, we said, things could be delayed. It may not be Christmas before it's actually legalized. And, for us in Ontario, that might be true because according to Deepak Anand, he says, I think Ontario is going to see a delay in legalization. I don't know if they're going to be ready in time for September, October. I look at it as January as launch in Ontario because they're not prepared yet.
Yeah. So the rest of the country moves forward. Ontario once again standing still. Pathetic for the current government. New government in town now with the election. PC's got in. Let's see what they're going to say about all of this in the coming days.
Yeah, that's right. We will. We will find out. Okay, let's do one more story and take a break.
Sounds good. We'll go off to Manitoba for a minute.
That's right, because the Manitoba government says that they won't budge on the homegrown ban after the feds have rejected the recommendation from the Senate.
Yeah, they say if this passes and federally people are allowed to grow plants, they will put in place heavy restrictions to make it illegal for most people to grow them, as well as heavy fines if you break that law provincially.
That's right. The province maintains that regulations for growing cannabis at home fall within its jurisdiction. I knew I was going to mess that word up. The province, a spokesman for the province says that as far as they're concerned, they are allowed to setting additional regulatory requirements to address issues of local concern. For example, provinces and territories could set a minimum or a higher minimum age or more restrictive limits on possession or personal cultivation, including the number of plants or where restrictions are where they can be grown.
Yeah. So, I mean, they can make it where you have to have, high fencing and barbed wire or greenhouses. I mean, all of these kind of things can come into play if you want to grow it. They can even make it so that it can't be grown outside. Or grow ops only, which is going to be very restrictive for many that are out there. When they asked when the Prime Minister was asked what was going to happen when this was taken to court, he basically said he's going to cross that bridge when he comes to it.
Exactly, and that's what the Premier says here as well about banning the home growing thing. Is he's going to, we'll see you in court. Go ahead. Yeah, we're still going to ban it. But it's just he says that he'd rather err on the side of safety than worry about wait till something happens. He'd rather relax the laws down the road.
what I don't understand where safety comes into play growing marijuana cannabis plants anywhere in the country. If everybody's got the right to have 4 plants, many people will have them. What is the safety concern? I don't get it.
He's watched too much news, and the police, as we saw in the Allard decision, they've been shown to exaggerate things a little bit. And the same thing with some of these. If anybody's going to ban the outdoor growing of cannabis, like if it can be seen, you can be charged. Like in BC, you can't grow it on your balcony because people can see it.
Yeah.
So then you force you to grow it inside, but yet they have the police telling everybody that you shouldn't grow inside because it's not safe. So if someone wants to grow outside where you would consider it safe, and they won't allow it.
They're not allowing it. I mean, the restrictions. Cannabis legalization is coming to Canada, yes, but the restrictions that are being placed on it are outrageous, and there is still a very long way to go.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. There's going to be many court visits.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. That's right.
For sure.
All right. Well, good luck in Manitoba. We're all looking forward to see what happens there.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's head for break.
Sounds good. Dab time.
Dab time, exactly. You got a can of history teaser?
I don't.
You don't? Okay. All right. No. Okay. All right. Well, let's just say during the break, you're going to hear a bit of a BBC report on a woman who's fighting to save her life. And you'll know when we're coming back when you hear some cannabis music that is almost 100 years old. You're listening to the Reefer Reporters here on LifestyleRadio.net.
Hey, this is Cheech. And this is Chong. And you're listening to Lifestyle Radio. What is it? Lifestyle Radio. Say it one more time. 420 Radio? Ooh.
Please hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Hey, this is Cheech. And this is Chong. And you're listening to Lifestyle Radio. What is it? Lifestyle Radio. Say it one more time. 420 Radio? Ooh.
Please hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
I watch women die every day. I watch children bury their moms. So I know what is in front of me, and I'm doing everything I can to prevent that.
Sarah Amento and her family are running out of time. She has stage 4 cancer, the chemotherapy isn't working, and the doctors say there's nothing more they can do.
Left with no options, everybody speaks about cannabis oil. There's a certain stigma, especially being a mother, of doing cannabis oil. Everyone looks at it like you're getting high, and it's not. It's a medical. It's a natural option that the government's ignoring, and I want to live. I have to live.
Cannabis has been used as a medicine for centuries. It's legal in half US states. A British drugs company is trialling a new cancer drug, and Britain's leading cancer research group is interested.
Cannabinoids are certainly very interesting molecules, and there's a lot of research. There's hundreds of papers being published looking at their chemical properties against cancer cells. Turning that into effective treatments is a long road, and certainly it's not going to be the one cure for cancer, because nothing is.
This is how you're able to gauge what level of activity is going on in your body.
Stephanie LaRue says she has evidence cannabis has worked, which is backed up by her doctor.
The cannabis works. No chemo. I only did cannabis, and the tumors are gone. And the scans I have is evidence and proof of that. Kind of like, what more do you need?
A lot more, according to one of the world's leading cancer doctors.
This is chemotherapy. So these are natural products,
The man who helped cure Lance Armstrong's cancer needs data and real scientific evidence.
Until somebody proves it, whether it be the manufacturers who put together a clinical trial, whether it be doctors who get government funding to do it, or patients who say, here are my records, and let's put it in a medical journal and be transparent with what I had, what I was treated with, and what my outcome was, then until that, it's snake oil. Again, I'm not trying to impede progress or say it's bad, but at the same time, I don't want people to get false hope.
So what is the evidence? Well, there are hundreds of lab reports that have been published. A study on mice which showed that it worked. A human trial that saw 8 out of 9 patients respond to treatment, even though they all did die in the time you might expect. Dozens of charities and organisations are starting to think there's something in it. Making the oil is still an underground industry. The cannabis is legal. The flammable solvents he's using aren't.
We then pour the liquid into the pan.
So this is the finished product?
Yeah, this is the finished product.
And do you think this is a cure for cancer?
In many instances it is, and it can be. It depends on the person's particular condition or their state, how advanced the cancer is, but we've seen thousands and thousands of people get better from using this oil.
And it's what Sarah Armento is trying.
I squeeze out a very little amount, and then I believe it's the best option. I've seen it work for others, and I'm hoping it'll work for me.
It is her only hope, but it is also unproven medicine. Alistair Leith, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Celebrate Indigenous Awakening at Legacy 420's first outdoor music fest, August 11th on the Tyendinaga Mohawk Territory.
This one's about rock and roll and comic books and bubblegum.
Featuring Headstones, DJ Shove, Derek Miller, and more, with host MC Howie Miller. Opening drum ceremony at 12 noon. Medicinal, food, and Indigenous vendors and artists. Free camping. Tickets $75 at legacy420.com. A 19 and over event. Indigenous Awakening, Saturday, August 11th on Tyendinaga Mohawk Territory. Take Highway 401, exit 556.
Sponsored by NIMCA and Legacy 420.
I dreamed about a reefer 5 feet long, a mighty man, but not too strong. You'll be high, but not for long, if you're a viper. I'm the king of everything. I got to be high before I swing. Let the bells ring, ding dong ding, if you're a viper.
We are back. We are back, and it's done the break. Just finishing the medication session as we're coming back. Right? All right, Kim, what do you got for your Canada history moment?
Well,
you didn't want to give anybody a tease before the break, so
yeah. Well, we've been talking about Rob Ford in Ontario and how far behind the times with the rest of the country that Ontario is. So it made me take pause and look up something that I thought happened around now, and I was right. Part of our history here in Canada with censorship and the law has got to do with a section 462.2 of the criminal code. It has to do with the law against paraphernalia. Many people are unaware that cannabis paraphernalia, bong shops, that kind of thing, are still technically illegal in Canada today under 462.2. Way back when in 1988, under the administration of Brian Mulroney, took people to court. They raided the normal offices in Canada. Ontario Provincial Police raided the offices of National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws under the allegations they were promoting marijuana. Police also raided the home of normal president Umberto Iofreda. I probably said that wrong. I can't say his name. Okay. Anyway, going on. After seizing documents at the normal membership list, police dropped the charges. So Iofreda took them to court. In October 1994, the Ontario Court of Justice sided with the Normal and his lawyer, Alan Young, and overturned the literature ban that fell under 462.2. Now, where Ontario comes into this is the judge said the ban was unconstitutional and violated the Charter of Rights, yet the decision was not appealed to the Supreme Court. So technically, it still only applies in Ontario.
So that would mean like bongs and pipes in Manitoba would be illegal?
Yes, but the law for literature still remains on the books in Ontario because it wasn't appealed.
Oh. Well, 1988, that's a few years ago.
That's a few years ago, it is, and it's still ongoing today.
Yeah.
So here we are at the dawn, at the edge of legalization in this country. We will be able to federally, legally purchase cannabis within some time frame this year. Yet, on the books, bong shops remain illegal and can face harassment by, rural police departments that choose to use this law.
Yeah, we have to see if they change that. I haven't heard any change of that being in Bill C-45, and that sounds more of a provincial issue. Because like here in Ontario, the OCS stores, the last government was going to sell bongs.
Yes, that's right. So they would be in violation of 462.2.
Arrest that government.
That's it.
That's right. Interesting. 30 years ago almost. It actually is 30 years ago, yeah.
30 years ago.
30 years ago, wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, I was around then.
Me too, Al. Me too.
Okay, let's continue on with the news then. It's always good to have those flashbacks, though.
For sure. We're going to go into financial makers, right?
That's right. Markers Financial is introducing group medical cannabis product. And basically what they are doing is they are forming insurance products. Basically cover cannabis.
Yeah. The company, which offers group and individual extended health insurance to individuals, businesses, and associations, has started enrolling licensed cannabis producers and suppliers, as well as sales partners across Canada.
Yeah, Markers Financial will pay producers directly and thus eliminate out-of-pocket costs for individual users or plan members.
This is a fantastic step forward by a very innovative insurer.
That's right. They say that their introduction of insurance coverage for medical cannabis will go a long way towards supporting a more legitimate, patient-centric approach to patient care in Canada.
Yeah, fantastic. It's just wonderful to see somebody that is actually patient-oriented and looking at patients' needs. Amazing to see that coming out of a corporation, but pleasing.
Yes, exactly. And it looks like this is going to come into effect somewhere around August.
Yeah. So that's great for patients far and wide for sure. People need to get into this for sure.
And like you said, individuals. So it's not just, you don't have to be a lucky person to work for a company that actually supplies it or has it available. You could probably in August, as the information comes out, contact these people.
Yeah, absolutely. Markers Financial Group. Get in touch with them and find out what you got to do to sign on to this. I'm sure it'll be a great benefit to many patients across Canada.
I believe so as well. Exactly. And talking about across Canada, apparently many Canadian workplaces across the country are not ready for legal cannabis.
I can attest to that. That's for sure. In Northern Ontario, I know they're not ready at all. But their attempts at getting ready are largely based on outdated information as well, which is causing big issues.
Yeah, it's true. The employers are having to write policies and stuff. They're not prepared. They don't know what the federal law is going to be. How does it affect patient rights, human rights, all kinds of things.
Yeah. It's going to cause very large issues across the board for employers because people are jumping and sort of leaping before they look, sort of a thing. So urine and saliva tests are being enacted in workplaces. Zero tolerance policies are being taken on, and it's affecting a large population. That was sort of, in the closet users that didn't have to worry about this are now worried about job security.
Yeah, because, we were just talking in the last story about, like we're just, it's just, there's patients out there that work. They take their medicine daily. It doesn't mean that they're taking it while they're at work. It doesn't mean that they're impaired. It just shows that there's been consumption, which basically tells them they're taking their medication.
Yeah, that's right. There is no test that proves impairment. And because cannabis, the cannabinoids stick to us, we have an endocannabinoid system that feeds on them. They last a lot longer in our system than anything else. Alcohol, other pills, other illicit drugs flush through your system in as little as some of them in as little as 4 to 8 hours. Others take up to 24 hours. But that's about the cap on it, where cannabis can stay in your system for days and weeks.
Exactly. And you know how when it comes to the smoking of cannabis, some provinces are telling you to go to wherever you can smoke cigarettes, you can smoke cannabis. So let's say there's a person who doesn't smoke cannabis. They're out there having a cigarette. They're inhaling somebody's secondhand tobacco smoke. And then the next day they go to work, they punch a card, find out, that they've got their boss tells them, oh, you got to go for a drug test. And they test positive, but yet they don't even smoke it.
Yep, they didn't consume. They got some in their mouth from, somebody else that was smoking. We've got legalization coming here in Canada, but you're not going to be able to work if you want to utilize this legal herb.
Yeah. Well, the Canadian Union of Public Employees cautions employers from using legalization as an excuse to pursue a more aggressive policy around random drug testing, which is rarely permitted and requires a high legal bar to protect workers' human rights.
Yeah, I can see this coming to court on a large scale. I see this causing problems in the workplace. I know many industries in Northern Ontario are already implementing random testing. Limits are set now, and those limits are leaving and going to a zero tolerance policy in the future. People are going to get fired, and this is going to wind up being a big issue.
Yeah, exactly. It sure is. There's going to be some challenges on it for sure. I see here Moosehead Breweries, they say the key issue is safety. He said his company has a number of positions that require staff to sample beer on the job.
But you can't be high on pot while you're sampling the beer, eh?
No. Now, they have a zero tolerance for anybody operating a vehicle, but people are testing cannabis on the job. I'm not saying they're getting drunk, but that guy with the secondhand smoke is not getting stoned.
Yeah.
Or that patient who is, probably a very good employee, very productive, could lose his job.
Yep. And even though there's no impairment whatsoever, consumption does not equate impairment. The two are not equivalent. So then they can't do this, and it's got to be challenged in court.
Yeah, exactly. Because people were taking all kinds of prescription drugs and going to work.
Yep. Yeah, there's no test to find out how many Percocets you're on or how much morphine you've ingested or anything else like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You're allowed to go to work with all of that stuff and have bottles of it in your lunchbox.
Methadone?
That's fine.
Methadone?
Yeah, there's no tests for those.
Nothing. Exactly. Well, another one of those battles that's going to come down the road for sure.
Absolutely. Well, another
okay.
Watch and see.
Talking about battles, I see out in Calgary that there's a big battle going on in Chinatown.
Yeah, there is. This story is funny. 50 members of Calgary's Chinatown community gathered outside and they protested having a cannabis dispensary in Chinatown.
Yes, they have. They say that it's not. They're worried about their heritage, the roots of their culture. We don't think a cannabis store is aligned with all the other businesses in Chinatown. They say it's not. It's against their values. All this type of stuff.
Oh, they better read up on their history a little bit.
They better read up.
We're finding, 3 million or 3,000-year-old shrouds buried in China with their peoples for going back, hundreds and thousands of years that all contain cannabis.
Yeah, Gobi Desert. Check out the tombs. There was a report there a few years back. 3,000-year-old cannabis, 2 pounds found inside the tombs.
Yeah.
And then,
pretty much part of their heritage.
And the fellow, the guy, unfortunately I can't think of his name, but he's also, I believe he's Chinese, the fellow who they always give credit to as far as the cannabis issue. Discovered the medicinal benefits way back.
Way back.
Way back.
I mean, it was written in scriptures and stuff like that where using it medicinally, and he was showing all the wonderful properties and the things that it was helping with. A lot of Chinese medicine is herb-based, and most of that at one time or another contained the element of cannabis. It's just been eliminated over the years.
Yeah, that's right. So it'll be interesting what happens. Now, from my understanding, the city, they are going to meet with them. Yeah, they are going to meet with the city from what I'm reading here. And consult with them, see what's going on. So you got 50 people showed up at the rally. They had 200 signatures on a petition, and they got the city of Calgary to move.
Yeah.
Here we are in Ontario and other provinces where we get tens of thousands of people show up at rallies to protest things.
Close down Yonge Street.
Yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
We close down Yonge Street a couple of times a year. We take over Yonge and Bloor. We march en masse on a regular basis. We gather in parks and communities across the country en masse with tens of thousands of people, and no one listens. In Chinatown, in Calgary, 200 people is all it needs, is required for the city to stand up and take note.
Yeah. Well, the Calgary Chinese Union said that they weren't consulted. They weren't consulted or weren't even involved in anything, but their councillor said that the city spent over $1 million on extensive engagement with Chinatown stakeholders around a business redevelopment plan.
Yeah. Well,
so what is it? Yeah, which way is it?
Here is going on. There's definitely some preferential treatment going on here in good old BC. Somebody needs to take a look at this for sure, because I'm sure many other constituents that have stood up en masse for many other issues would like their just desserts and be heard with as much enthusiasm as Chinatown is being heard on this.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And talking about being heard, this is a follow-up story of one that we covered in the past, and that is on Billy Caldwell.
Yes, 12-year-old Billy Caldwell, an epileptic patient over in Britain, his mother had his medicine confiscated from her when she returned with it to her from her home country. Just a heart-wrenching story.
Yeah, they got it here in Canada, legally, because he's a patient and all that. And when he took it home, they confiscated him. Well, it's good to know that the government has taken a U-turn on all this. And they told reporters that they are looking at changing things, and they're looking at giving him his medication back.
Yeah, they say that this morning they used an exceptional power as Home Secretary to urgently issue a license to allow Billy Caldwell to be treated with cannabis oil. They are quoted in saying, "This is a very complex situation, but our immediate priority is making sure Billy receives the most effective treatment possible in a safe way."
Yeah, they have been in close contact with Billy's medical team, and their decision is based on the advice of senior clinicians and who have made it clear that this is a medical emergency.
Yeah. The policing minister met with the family on Monday and since has been working to reach an urgent solution. So it looks like they're overturning this. Billy's getting his meds back. Thank God for that. And, you know, the government there is taking another look at legalizing cannabis as a medicine, largely because of this story.
Yes, exactly. You know, I've said this many times over the years. When people see this and the way it works, it can abruptly change people's positions on it. And this is one that's been done publicly.
Yeah, that's right. And anybody that doesn't take a different view after they see this and stories like this and the situation that Billy Caldwell is in, I mean, how can you live with yourself?
You know, he was on this cannabis oil. He was seizure free for 300 days. That's almost a year.
Yeah.
And then they took him off of it, and the guy's back-to-back seizures right away.
Yeah, all day long it's happening. It was heart-wrenching. I mean, the kid could have died in any one of those seizures. They're that traumatic. And it would have been at the hands of the British government.
Yeah. The situation is now described by doctors in Canada and Northern Ireland familiar with this case as being life-threatening.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that the British government took this medicine away from this kid to start with is appalling. But I'm glad to see that they're revisiting this. They're at least helping Billy, and they're looking at helping others in the future with changing the laws.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm glad that it's opened their eyes, and hopefully there's more children and adults that will get access to the cannabis medicine that they require.
Yeah, absolutely. I think now we're off to another part out there. We're going to head over to Lisbon next, right?
Yes, we're off to Portugal. As everybody knows, Portugal has decriminalized all drugs and has been very successful with that plan. So successful, even the Liberals voted on it this year at one of their meetings. That now they have legalized cannabis-based medicines.
Yeah, many people were unaware that, you know, they thought, Portugal is just legal. It wasn't just legal in Portugal. It was legal recreational, but they still held the stance, no medicinal value. So it couldn't be prescribed and it wasn't being used or utilized by the medical industry at all. Things are changing there greatly. And it's wonderful to see. They're using it now to help them with relieving the opiate addiction and stuff like that over there.
Yes, exactly. Only one party sustained in the vote in Parliament legalizing cannabis-based prescription drugs to treat chronic pain, post-traumatic stress disorder, side effects from cancer, and some other ailments as well. And now the bill goes forward to the president to sign it into law.
Yeah, once it gets done, all drugs will need a license from a regulator. The body, which last year authorized a medical marijuana plantation in central Portugal, growing plants with a high content of psychoactive ingredient THC for export at that time. So Portugal's already got quite the good foothold in the growing industry. So I can expect big things from them coming out of the medical once this happens.
Yeah, that's right. Talking about growing. We've heard reports about some of the U.S. states not being able to keep up with demand there when they first legalized. And we're seeing the same thing in Uruguay. They are struggling to meet demand for their legal cannabis.
Yeah, there's just not enough to go around. They distribute through pharmacies and that kind of thing over there. And there's a big shortage. People are running out.
Yeah, that's right. And, like these people, could be traveling from the mountains. They could be coming in from quite a distance. And, it costs money, and they can't always afford to be able to do that. And when they get there, they find out that the stores are empty.
Yeah. They have very little experience with farming the product on a large scale, so they import largely, and they're having issues with that.
Yeah, they're having a supply issue, but yet people are only allowed to buy, as much as 40 grams a month. Not a day, not a week, a month.
A month.
And an ounce a month. And they can't keep up.
They can't keep up. Well, too many people, they say, are using it, and they don't have the large capacity of imports to sustain it. They need to get their growing going, but they seem to think that it's a more complicated situation than maybe it needs to be.
Yeah, see, they can grow their own, and it's also sold through pharmacies. So this is the selling end of things. They only sell it in 14 of the country's estimated 1,200 pharmacies.
Yeah.
What?
So still lots of kinks to be worked out in Uruguay for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, exactly. It's just, that's crazy. Just crazy. They have 8,750 registered individual growers. They're allowed to harvest up to 480 grams per year. And if all met that figure, it would total about 4 tons per year.
Yeah.
There are 90 user clubs. So it sounds like almost like lounges.
Yeah, lounges, I guess, and little clubs where they get together and stuff in their small communities. I mean, it's great to see the evolution of this happening in such a small country like Uruguay. They're not, say, economically in balance with countries like Canada and the United States. So they have other struggles that we are not accustomed to.
There's about 150 people between the ages of 18 and 65 who consume cannabis in the country. But about a third of them will use it weekly, but only 35,000 have registered to use it in the new system.
Yeah.
So that leaves a huge majority that obviously
still going to the black market.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right, exactly.
Still going to the black market. But it's an evolution for the country for sure. Until they get a handle on the supply and the distribution, the black market will continue. And the same goes for Canada and any other place that is looking at legalization. Distribution of this product at a fair price with a good product that is trustworthy by consumers is essential if you want to get a handle on the so-called black market.
Okay. Yeah. They say that, for example, one pharmacy says that they're supposed to supply them with 4 kilograms of cannabis, but they only leave them 3.
Yeah.
And they say that the system is ridiculous.
So lots of issues to still work out in Uruguay.
Yeah. There's even complaints about quality.
Yeah.
So they're going through their.
We'll see much of the same here, I think.
Yeah, I think so. What do they call those things? Growing pains.
Yeah, growing pains. And from growing pains and Uruguay, we're jumping right over to Germany.
That's right, exactly. Cannabis is fueling the German lifestyle.
Yeah. Growing cannabis in Germany is illegal without a permit, but you can currently get a permit to grow for the medicinal market.
Yes, you can. They've been growing cannabis. Growing cannabis in Germany is illegal without a permit. Currently, you can only get a permit to grow for the medical market. And it's not like what happens in the U.S.
Yeah.
Dried flowers are treated at the same level as standards as other medicines that are distributed through pharmacies.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because officially there's no real German recreational market. No one can just grow the raw product. THC-rich cannabis is actually outlawed there. The selling of cannabis seeds or clones is prohibited, though both are easily available online from all over the EU.
Yeah, well, they say this government stuff is per gram. The product is expensive. Gee, we've heard that before.
Yeah.
And it does not offer the smells, tastes, and effects that can be enjoyed by the stuff that's in the illicit channels.
Yeah, it's an evolving situation in Germany for sure.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's see what happens as time goes on.
Yeah, it's everywhere is on the threshold of legalization of some form or another, and everybody is going through this with baby steps and evolving at different rates, and it's interesting to see it play out across the globe.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Yeah, because we were talking about funny names there earlier. They're talking about CBD strains, and in some places they call that cannabis light.
Cannabis light.
Yeah, like light beer, light.
So CBD is cannabis light, and you
Yeah.
have refresh or relax or what were the other categories? I mean, all these new categories and phrases coming out with legalization. It's funny.
Yes. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm sure it will get funnier as we go along.
Yeah.
Some of it will. Some of it's going to be probably pretty sad, too.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
All right, Kim. Well, have we got any more news, or is that it?
I think that was the last story for the week, Al. It's been a very busy week. It's a very busy week coming up with everybody chiming in on how legalization is going to play out in Canada. So I look forward to Reefer Reporters next week and news on
same
that.
here. Results on all these votings, what's going on.
Yeah.
Senate news will be the top of the story for sure again next week.
Absolutely. One more time.
That's right. Okay, that's our Reefer Report for June the 12th to the 18th, 2018. And in closing, weed. I'd like to say thank you for listening to our cannabis news broadcast. And if you enjoyed it, please share it with your co-workers, the person you're sitting beside, and those who need to know. Until the next time, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
Bark at you later.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.